Hello, chess friends. This is International Master Valeri Lilov, and welcome to today's lecture on YouTube. We're going to be talking about today are a few really instructive topics, and basically, they're going to be the key, I'd say, the key topics that most chess players tend to be curious about. And so, we're going to start with, first of all, how do you play a strong pawn structure? So essentially the idea being is we're going to talk about a rather unorthodox variation, the so-called English defense. Now, English defense is an opening that everybody would say, I'd love to try, and yet when they do, things get horribly wrong. And yet, I think it's very important to understand this opening, because understanding when to break certain rules and how to evaluate them basically reveals the idea on how strategy is going to work. So this is a very interesting thing to keep in mind overall. Let's discuss that, and this is quite valuable. So actually, let's talk about a few examples so I can show you how that opening works so really well. Give me 1 second. All right. So we're going to start with a game that was actually played by Bobby Fischer himself. And even though this was actually played in a rather rapid blitz game, as a matter of fact it was, in 1970, it still represents a good example of how to bend the rules in a specific position. So let's talk about that and see what happened. In this game, Korchnoi, Victor Korchnoi with white, started with d4, c4, knight c3, and e4, basically bringing up a very good pawn structure. So now we're playing the so-called King's Indian, bishop e2, short castles, and knight f3. As this variation happened, ultimately Black decided that it will be best for him to continue, and he decided to play with the move of pawn to the e5. And so this was a very, very good idea. Okay, and actually, after the move e5, White played with the move of short castles. And then, now, ultimately, what Black played in this case was knight to the c6. That's a great move that simply delivers everything. So we have a nice challenge against the d4, and there's nothing so special just yet. But why am I showing you this game? I mean, this doesn't have to need to do anything with the English defense. There's an idea that plays off really well when we get to see the actual English. But I want you to just look into this, and then I will show you how that relates and why I chose to start with that game. Black plays c5. What you see here is that we create a structure. Looks weird, but we create it. The structure basically means the way we set our pieces and situate them in the beginning, so that basically they control enough space and they can have enough command. So that's what we want to do first. We cannot do anything until that one thing happens, until we actually get the possibility to have a solid and important structure in place. So this is a good beginning then, right? After that, essentially White tried a3 in preparation for b4. He was really going up for that. And this was a good moment for Black to play the simple knight e8. Now the pieces and the way they go in such positions will determine how your structure is going to expand. Now again, we're just talking about ideas before we start with the actual theory. So take a look. b4, b6. You see, Black is giving this quite some time before anything even happens. Now that would be very strange to some people. They would say, okay, is this really worth it, taking so much time? And the answer is yes, it is. The reason why it's worth it is because we're not just taking that time to kind of move around. We're doing it because as black plays this move, as he plays with the move of pawn up to the b6, we're practically setting up for everything that is going to happen in the next moves. So it's really a setup. It's a great, powerful setup. Rook b1, f5, f3, and then f4, a4, g5. And then you'll see that off of that really solid formation, the setup, the development, and everything that we've done, suddenly an opportunity appears. An opportunity is taken by black, which helps him to advance, expand his position real quick, and really challenge white in different ways. That is exactly what we're looking to do in this position. Very valuable idea. Small, but really important. I played this, and then rook f6. So underneath that pawn structure in the formation, we're really getting everything in place. And so this is very, very important. And so just this is very, very important. After we continue with this, rook f6, white played b6 to the c, b6 to the c, knight b3, and then there is the move of rook to the g6. What is great is how it's working. What is so beautiful is that we're really taking this slowly and gradually to progress. We've got the move of g4, and we actually have that possibility to play with the move of knight f6, and then, after continuing with the move of pawn up to the g4, and so it's a great way to go ahead with. And let's see what happened. So, like, actually, after the move of rook to the g6, bishop to the d2, knight to the f6 happens. And so this is really, really great. Okay, so let's take a look and see what happens next. Knight f6, white plays king h1. And then we have the move of pawn up to the g4. And this is really powerful. See, Fischer knew that everything is about the structure of pawns and pieces coming together, and it's really relevant out there. And of course, after continuing with the move of g4, white plays with f takes the g, and let's take a look. And after that move, then after knight takes the g, we play with the move of knight takes the g for, let's see. All right, then after continuing with that move of rook to the f3, then you're going to play with the move of rook h6. It's quite powerful. So let's see. Rook h6, h3. What should black do right now? It's a very valuable question. See, the first is Fischer knew that nothing's going to happen unless we have a great set of pieces, okay? And actually, that's what we're going for right now. And after continuing with the move of knight to the g6, and we have that knight on the h4, and we have everything, on the worst, on the best area of the board. We can have that possibility. We can have knight to the h4. You're going to have the attack. We can have the attack against the g2 and the f3. And so after king g1, knight to the f6. So bishop e1, then there's the move of knight to the h8. See, so this is really important. Maneuver, and keep doing that. You see, so it's very interesting. And let's take a look. So, like, in fact, after continuing with the move of bishop e1, now black is maneuvering that knight through the f7 to the g5 square. Why am I telling you all this? What does that have to do with English? It's about the two fundamental strengths of any opening: structure and piece activity, which is what all people need to understand before studying any opening, especially something as complicated as the English. So actually, after continuing with the move of knight h8, rook d3, and then knight f7, And let's take a look and see what happens in this case. You know, then bishop to the f3, and in fact, black plays with the move of knight to the g5. This is very very powerful, and this is what we get to see in this position. Every single piece moving against white's king. You know, number one, what you want to understand is that you just want to get those forces in line with the attack. So, in fact, after continuing with the move of knight to the g5, we're going to have this, resource of queen to the d7, knight takes h3, and white plays queen to the e2. And then we've got rook g6. That's a really powerful thing in this case. And so we've got knight takes h. You've got the move of, we've got bishop takes to the h3. So white plays king f1, and then there's knight takes h3 in this case. Takes, bishop takes h3, king f2, and then of course we've got the move of knight of the g4. And, in fact, after bishop takes the g, we got bishop takes the g4. It's a pretty valuable tactic. You could see now that Fischer is winning, and he won because of nothing else but just the way on how he formatted all those pieces and all these sequences to the point where there was no running. It was beautiful. And the setup that went so right, that went so well for black, actually helped him to acquire everything. Now, again, that doesn't have to do anything to do with the English, but it has to do with what a structure means and how you could really make it work. Now let's get to the point and talk about in English. By the way, for any of you who want to actually me to send you those examples and any others as well, please feel free to email me directly at actually valeri.lilov@gmail.com, or you can do that on my website, which is tigerlilov.com. I'll be very glad to send you the PGN file with all these annotations, so you could probably review them yourselves, take some notes, and it's always a good thing to do. This is good. Now let's talk a bit about this next game that I want to bring. Okay, here we go. All right, one moment. Now, also don't forget the actual. There is a fantastic sale promotion of Grandmaster Ginger that is provided for an incredible discount. It's in the link below this video, so you might want to check it. It's called the Ginger GM Method 2, 15-hour course. It is perfect. It's brilliant. So you might want to really check it up. And so I send the link on the chat, but so here we go. So there is this next game play between Luc Van Velde and Luc McShane. The two Lucs were also playing a blitz game. Now, you may be wondering, okay, what blitz game? I want to say classical game. But truth is, most of us don't really have the capabilities to understand, like a true super grandmaster blitz, like a classical game. So these games really feel very much like our games. And so I'd say that you don't have to worry about, seeing a blitz game by a great master, as long as it's of a high quality one. So let's see, g6, knight d2, bishop to the g7, knight f1, short castles, and after that move, then knight to the h2, then there is the move of pawn up to the c5, and for example, after continuing with this type of a move, you've got that opportunity to follow up with a nice idea to attack against the d4. It's just in fact, after continuing with the move of c5, then just we have the excellent pressure out there against the d4. We've got the extra pressure out there, and so it's wonderful. So just you have the tactics, and you have the opportunity to keep the advance. But what do we do next? So this is really interesting to see what's going to happen in the next moves. All right. Then after continuing with the move of c5, white plays c3 out there. And so what should black do right now? Does anybody have a suggestion? Hmm. Yes. So, actually, what you have to do is that first and foremost, you must be considering the possibility of exchanging, taking, and then knight to the d6 out there. So it's a really, really powerful thing. Not only because of the d4, but like just it's quite a great idea. Like, let's get our forces in line. Let's bring them to the advance, and let's keep the extra pressure going. The key is always this: keep the opponent going back. And then actually after the move of a3, as now we continue with this move of a3, we have rook to the c8, and just this is really, really important. After that, in case white played with the move of bishop to the e3, we're going to have the move of knight to the f6, and the rook d1. What do we do? What the hell is this? It's a simple setup that provides the necessary wall for our pieces, and then we go from there. And actually, that's a great idea. So we have knight c6, a3, rook to the c8, and actually after continuing with this type of a move, and after the move of bishop e3, then what do we do next? Does anybody have a suggestion on what black should do right now? Hmm. Yes, anyone? Okay, so first thing you want to know, first thing itself, f5 again. Can we do f5? No, we don't, because f5 would create a really huge weakness in this type of position. So this is very important. Like, in fact, actually, one of the key things in that type of position is like first and foremost, we need to get ready. If you continue with the move of f5, e takes f, and then e takes f5, and just actually after that, white can play bishop to the c4, king h8, and white can play even a move rook to the c4, c1. So this is really, really important. One of the things that you have to consider is number one, you know, just the key is going back, taking the chance or the time to prepare yourself and really build, set your pieces upon towards the center. Because when you have that done, you can go from there, can deliver different attacks or different threats, and you will be good. Just take the time. No f5, nothing that could expose our position or make it a little bit more trouble. And so this is really interesting. After continuing with the knight on f6, then just here, pawn up to the h5, and then after playing this move, then knight at the g5, queen e7, and then bishop to the b1. So it's perfect. It's a really interesting moment. So now black plays with the move of knight at the a5, knight f3, and we've got the move of knight at the g4, and so this is a great way to go because we have a strong knight. We've got another very valuable piece, and even the bishop is really important. So now white played the move of bishop to the f4. This is very, very important. So let's see. After that type of position of bishop f4, the question is, black has already gotten himself ready. So should he open up right now? What to do now? We could think about D5 too. But what I'd recommend is let's just get better because, like after that move, you can have that opportunity to advance. We get a lot of extra pressure and things against the opponent. And so, for instance, after that move, we've got, B2 to be challenged and the rest of the pieces, which are going to be perfect, like lions. The key always stands to be that, like the forces stand like lined up, ready to go and keeping the opponent down. He cannot also make a move of pawn to the b3 for obvious reasons, and that's why we're doing it. This is what we want. The key principle. Let's just get ready. Let's keep advancing. Now, what does white do? Okay, white plays for the move of pawn to the e5, hopefully intending to arrange that pawn forward and keep it through. But what are we going to do next? What do we do in the next or in the very next move? Well, all the black wanted was basically to play with d6 to the e5, d6 to the e5, and then there is the move of pawn up to the b5. Knight e2, knight e4, and so we have bishop takes e4. So, what I really find in this type of position is that, see, step by step, we're really exchanging, we're really taking away the opponent's, like good possibilities, and it's the way to go, step by step. And actually, by doing this exchange on the e4, we're also going to get ready for a move like rook after the d8. And say this is really wonderful. Actually, after bishop takes to the e4, bishop takes to the e4, knight takes d5. What this gives you is flexibility. And it's a hard thing to come by in any opening. The chance for you to stay flexible and really feel like you're able to go forward in this case. And see, very, very interesting. After that move, then actually knight e4, bishop takes to the e, bishop takes to the knight takes to the e5 out there. And see, so this is really great. This take, and then, for example, after continuing with the move of exchange taking, and like so, trade bishop to the f6, bishop b2, queen c, little by little, and we have that attack with queen to the h2 out there, and it's pretty powerful. Okay, see, one of the things that you have to remember is that rule number one is really get those pieces together, set them up, and challenge the opponent. It's that easy, step by step. It's very, very interesting. After queen c7 and the move of pawn up to the g3, we've got the move of we have now the attack against the f2. Now this is obviously beyond the opening, but it's pretty strong. Bishop f4, and so what are we going to do next? Let's go for bishop takes f2, king to the g2, and then we've got pawn up to the e5 out there. We've got everything in place. So, like, this is great. We drive the bishop out of the way. We could push him out and down, and so this is very, very interesting. Oh, that's all we need to do. And this is all we'd want to be going for. Step by step, everything is perfect. And, let's see what comes next. Bishop g5, bishop takes c1, rook takes to the e1, queen to the c5. Have everything in play. We've got that knight and the queen. Perfect. See, actually, what is really, really interesting about that is that black counter sacrifices even the rook out there. And in case of queen to the f3, of course, we've got rook to the d7, bishop to b1, rook d8. He doesn't even take the rook because he knows that by taking the rook, it's going to be all over. There's no tactic no more. There's going to be no complications. And that implies black is winning. Now, with that move in mind, obviously white played with king g2, e4, queen e1, and so queen to the c6. We've got king h3, e3, bishop f4, knight f2 check. And in case of the take, we've got queen c5, f1 with the bishop, and black is winning. So this is very, very interesting. You see, I have to say that there are a couple things that are really important in this game. Okay, so what you want to remember, going back to the earlier stage, first of all, this setup is all about, just how do you advance and attack against the opponent. See, this is really, really important. Like after we continue with the move of, just c5, c6 to the d, and knight c6, black really did it beautiful. Next thing, remember the flexibility is all around attacking white center. It's not about taking advantage of it, but we actually have that opportunity to, just threaten him and control. And the most valuable thing is that we've got the chance. See, this is the big idea. See, first and foremost, we have to take the chance and attack him slowly. That means getting all those required possibilities in this type of position. And, that's going to be a great idea. See, in fact, after that type of a move, everything is going to be perfect. I was like, after continuing with the move of pawn up to the e5, d6 to the e5, and it's great. Like d6 to the b5. Now let's see another example of how this opening works. We're going to see in a game played between Lev Polugevsky and Viktor Korchnoi. Now, to mention it to you again, Grandmaster Ginger made an incredible course on this opening and many others in his new course, the method number 2. I would recommend you to check this out because he's got some incredible ideas and advice on how that works. So I'm going to post a link on the description, so you could probably just check it out. But then also you could check it on the chat. It works against f4 and works against any of the others too. So don't you worry about it at all. Now let's see this game played by Korchnoi himself. Okay, here we go. Korchnoi. Polugevsky, Korchnoi. That was not a blitz game, just to let you know. Classical game, Korchnoi was black. So he started with the b6, bishop b7, and queen h4. Now this is a very different type of approach in this case. And we've got the d2, we've got the e4, and see, so let's take a look. After continuing with this type of move, white plays bishop to the d3, and then, in fact, after that, we've got the move of pawn up to the e5. And so it's, after the f5, knight f3, black played bishop takes d2, and then white came back with his king. I think that it was a really bad idea for him to do that, but it's not like he had much to do in this case. So what happens in that moment is, first and foremost, you have to understand that in those type of positions, you have to be very quick. Don't have time to do this or that. Most important is you got to be straight to the point and really focus your attention on advancing or attacking. This is a great of a variation because we're going to, really transfer the pieces and the different type of tactics out there. So let's discuss what's actually happening in that moment. White plays king to the f1, and then after continuing with that type of a move, when he actually continued with this, surely we're able to advance. Now we're going to follow up instantly with a move like that. So is it a good move to play with queen to the h5? I don't think so. It's possible that we do it, but what's really important out there, just like we play queen h5, bishop takes the d2, and surely, we've got the move of knight f6. We're ready to attack and advance against the opponent in this position. And then after the move of e takes f3, is of course there's e takes f5. There is where we get the move of bishop takes to the f3, takes, and of course there's knight to the c6. Most interesting part about this position is really just the way and how we set it up forward. We've got the d4 that's powerfully under attack. Most of white's own pieces just bad, and that's what we do. Let's get those pieces, set them up, and attack. Very, very effective. And so now, of course, white has to do the move of bishop to the c3. And then surely we're just going for the move of short castles. One of the really interesting parts about this position is that we're getting to have all those pieces, as relevant as they can be. And we can get this going. We've got the tactic out there against the opponent's f3. We've got the the real opportunity to advance, and it works. Perfect. Next move, I plays queen h3. The reality is that we just continue going forward with each and every one of those moves because we know the danger that white is in. He's unstable. He's in a bit of a bad position, and actually we just make it work. King e2, rook to the e8. That is absolutely perfect. We've got the rooks, we've got the queen, we've got the knight, we've got e5 as well. Because of the knight takes to the e5, we have knight takes f3, rook takes the e2, also queen g2, knight takes d1, queen takes h2. And the reality is that the more you get to see what's actually happening in this position, the worse it gets for white because he's unable to do anything. He is just back and behind, and in a really horrible position. There is nothing that could go on in this case. There it is, queen g3, queen takes g3, f takes g3, rook f7, and then of course after bishop takes f6, g takes f. Then of course white just can't check it here, this, and after rook a8, king takes f5, we get the d6, king e6. I mean, this is not the opening. This is obviously much of the aftermath of what's happening. And, just here taking, we get rook b4, king d5, a couple little checks, and it worked out, especially with the pawn advancing and all this. Really, the reality is that now black is creating what we call the bridge method and winning quickly. So it's pretty good. I really like the idea because, going back to an earlier stage at this point is very, very interesting, very intriguing. We see how this incredibly fast attack works because white's pieces, or at least the majority of them, tend to be perfectly passive. And as he attempted to really move, he was not able to do anything. We got the attack on the e4, we had the bishop open. It was wonderful. So I want to show you a couple of other examples. Now, once again, do not forget to check Grandmaster Williams' training package on his method to learn a lot more about these structures. He's giving a lot of great ideas. The next game we're going to see was played between Anthony Miles himself, the great Anthony Miles. He played it with the black pieces. So I really want to show you this game. And he illustrated a powerful idea that works out. One moment. So in this game, Hubner was playing versus Anthony Miles, and it was a great development as black played it with bishop b4, knight e7, castles, and f5. So in case of the e5, black did knight g6, bishop f1, bishop takes f3. There was knight c6 that transferred to the attack on e5, and towards white d4, there's knight takes d4, queen d3, knight c6, f4, And then, of course, we've got the d6 move played out. E takes to the d, queen takes to the d6. What's really quite interesting about this position is that we're really able to, jump in and attack. And so, like, as you see it, it is a perfect position to advance. In case white exchanges, then we're going to have the recapture out there. And I think that is it's a wonderful thing. Step by step, everything seems to work. What about white? Well, it's quite difficult actually in that position for him to do anything. So he played with the move of queen takes to the d6, and then naturally black plays with the move of c takes to the d. We've got a great position. We've got the possibility to play with the move of rook to the c8, and then we got the move of most likely we're just going to have that chance to play with the move of knight to the c, but knight d4. It's a great way to make it through. Perfect to follow. Now, what about white? Can white do anything? I suppose, but the reality is that there's not too much. So he actually played that type of move, and then we're just going for rook a to d8, knight b5, rook d7, a3, bishop to the c5 with a check, which is great. He's going to force. He's going to go right back in that position. And then after continuing with this, there was the move of pawn to the d5. So this is great. So first and foremost, what we need to do is to open. We've got to open up the position, and we've got to get through. This is a really, a dangerous thing. We got the attack against. Maybe we can think about a6 too. And, white obviously has a lot to worry about because of the different things. So let's see. What happened after that move of pawn into the d5? Well, he actually did the move with b4, but it's already a lost game. If you really think about that, it doesn't matter what white will do. It's a very difficult position, and it almost feels like it's naturally going down for him, no matter what he does or how he does it. It's beautiful. So bishop e7, c takes to the d, and then we've got the idea of playing with a move of bishop to f6 that will threaten. He's got to go with rook to the a2, and then apart from anything else, once we've already forced him to go away, we've got e takes to the d, rook c2, knight e7, rook to the d8, king f8, exchanging, bishop takes to the d, and then rook c8. And the truth is, black already became very successful. I mean, this part of the game is really clear. It's really important to go back to the earlier stage and see what happened. Again, to the key beat of this opening, it contributes the idea that we can't achieve anything unless we're able to actually counter, to attack the white center. This is really what we're looking to do in this position. So see, first and foremost, what we need to do is attack. Castles there. We get f5 in that moment. We get the knight at the g6, which was really, very valuable in that position. And so after you continue with this, we got this, challenge against exchanging, knight c6, attacking, d6. It opened up the position really quick, and it helps us to, deliver all these different tactical. Remember that idea that it's always and everything is about this center, like the attack, because if you can attack the center, if you could really open up your pieces this way, it'll help you, brilliantly. Just this is really great. So this is good. I know, one of the things that is so valuable is the attack. And so just if this exchange really happens, obviously white's in trouble. Now let's take a look at another really interesting, very intriguing example that I want to show you within the very same opening. You see, people will try to do it in different ways, but the idea, the key beats of the opening always remain the same. Don't have to worry about that. Now, I'm going to save this one here, and I want to show you another. All right, so basically this was played between Jonathan Spillman and Casper Rasmussen, where black played bishop b7, e6, and d5 with the idea to quickly open and get the pieces ready. Queen takes d5 was wonderful, knight c6, knight d4, and long side castles. It's amazing how only in a couple moves time, basically the whole position breaks through and it becomes very valuable. Like after d5 exchange, the taking, when white plays with knight x to the d5, knight f6, we've got an exchange, the retake, the queen takes to the d5, and then after knight to c6, we got moves like knight to the d4 in that moment. The trouble is that with every single piece of white, we have the ability to not just develop ourselves, but also get a bit stronger. We've got a move like bishop to the c5, which we can deliver, rook e8. It's our pieces and the opportunity to keep the opponent a little more on the backside that give us the chance to advance so effectively. The king came back to the b8, but then the remainder of the black pieces just get strong. Even d5 works. So there's bishop b6, trade, recapture. We got b2. We got f2 as an idea to threaten him. And we've got the opportunity to attack maybe, okay, with this a6, queen takes to the b2. Queen goes right back, and we got g6, queen g5, rook e8. It's amazing because black's was successful pretty much within the very first moves of this opening. And I know that I'm advertising it a little bit more than it should be, because if it was such a great opening, every grandmaster would play it. But if you think of it, if you really think of it, there is a lot of potential in it. And mostly it is because of that extremely smart idea of lining up the bishop and then pushing up with a move of pawn up there. It is as strong as you can imagine it, and it could be as interesting as possible. Now, what I'm going to show you is that there was a game that was played between Levon Aronian and Luc McShane, two really strong players that really show how that opening is supposed to flow. Again, we've got e6 and b6. The bishops are going forward. Create the hippopotamus. Some people call it the hippo. Some type of structure around it. And then as we go with the knight d7, h6, a6, knight f6, and short castles, everything feels fantastic. It's a fascinating position with a lot of opportunities to get to. And then after rook to the d1, queen to the d7, we've got the the possibility to set up the two rooks, and it's really, really interesting. After that's done, most of white's own pieces just don't feel like they've got the opportunity to really go anywhere. And that's what the major problem is. It's not so much that he doesn't have anything to do. It is rather the idea itself that it's not good enough. This is a kind of position in which he's a little tied down, a little bit behind, and certainly not doing all too well. That's the problem. And so it's a fairly interesting ability for black to just get his own forces in line. And surely, I mean, there's more to do, obviously, to that, but it's pretty strong as a resource. This is the key. Now, what else is there? You may be wondering, okay, are there other things that we must know about? Sure, absolutely. But this one's really important, because as opposed to any of the other lines, what this provides you is with safety. As long as you stick to the main idea, which is really, okay, want to be faster and stronger in the center, and you will be good. There is nothing to worry about. So just a very interesting play. After continuing with this move of pawn up to the b5, then, okay, let's see. What is white going to do? Okay, obviously he's got a problem out there. After that move, apparently white's got to go for knight h2, knight g8, h4, f5, h5, g5. And as white exchanged, then there was the recapture, f4, and g4. It was interesting because even a grandmaster from Aronian's caliber just couldn't figure out how to deal with this sequence. He took the pawn, but then, of course, we just get to play with king h8. And then after white played with the move of knight to the knight h2 in his own, which was a normal kind of a move out there, then we're actually just going to deliver the move of knight f6. It's all right. It's not a thing that the opponent can change. We're just bringing out the pieces. And it's amazing. White is a pawn up now, but because he doesn't have the center, and certainly because a lot of his pieces feel pretty bad, black gets the advantage. Knight e4 is a super cool move. And of course, in case of the exchange, the idea is that we take back, we set the bishop forth, trading queen f5, rook e8, and queen takes g6. But it's really just that idea. Starting from the beginning, it was setting up the pieces, the pawns, and then eventually when we're ready, we're going to attack the middle. It can go in different ways, whether it's d5 or e5 or f5. But that's the main idea, and you can do it in a number of different ways you want. Grandmaster like Simon Williams really covers it in detail. And I do recommend you to check his training package. It's only available at like an incredible discount, 50% discount for the next few hours. So you might want to check it from the link below or visit the link that I'm sending you on the chat. So I do hope you have a good success with this opening. And let me know if you have any questions. You can always email me or just send me a message through my website in case you have questions about those games or you want me to send you the file so you can study them. Thank you so much, and I'll speak to you next time.